Hi there, my name's Simon Drew, and welcome to the Practical Stoic Podcast, where I give you practical Stoic advice for modern times. You can support the show by going to patreon.com/Simon Drew. I also do one-on-one mindset coaching, and you can book in your first free consultation by going to risetothegoodlife.com/coaching. On Facebook, you can join my group, the Practical Stoic Mastermind. But for now, enjoy this episode. Hi there, my name's Simon Drew, and welcome to the Practical Stoic Podcast. I believe that Stoicism should be a philosophy that enhances your life in every possible way, including your hobbies and your pastime activities. I also feel like, with some mindfulness, most hobbies have the power to enhance your Stoic learning and practice. For example, I feel like hiking, mountain climbing, exercising, and running all contribute to my own practice of Stoicism. See, most of these activities involve me doing something difficult, and they mostly involve me being outside in nature. And so I feel like I'm strengthening my Stoic practice every time I do them. And this week, I wanted to hear from you. What are the hobbies and activities that contribute to your own practice of Stoicism? And, we had some really wonderful answers, so I'll start out with Mehdi, who said, I enjoy going on walks. When I walk alone, I can reflect on my day, how it ties in with my past experience, what it means going forward, how my values are affecting this, and I get into a Zen state that gives me vision and clarity for future planning. So Mehdi, I couldn't agree more. There was actually a period of my life where I was taking long walks by myself, multiple times a week, and I completely agree that those were the times when I would really get into that Zen state and I would find such clarity in where I wanted to go in my life. And some of the best ideas that I ever came up with were on those walks. So I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much for that answer. And moving on, we had an answer from Steve, and he said, woodworking helps to craft patience. I'm naturally inclined to getting upset when projects don't work out perfectly the first time. However, building guitars out of cigar boxes has been a humbling experience. Studying Stoicism and woodworking simultaneously has been very productive, and now when a guitar doesn't quite work out the way I planned, I see it as an opportunity to overcome the problem rather than responding by being overly frustrated or upset at the inanimate object that didn't turn out the way I had planned. And Steve, I completely agree with you. As somebody who has done a lot of woodworking in the past, I know that it's something that really requires a lot of patience. Anything that you're building with your own hands, requires so much patience. And I can see how that would be a real Stoic practice for you to not get upset when things don't quite turn out the way you wanted them to. So thank you so much for that answer. And moving on, we had a response from Liana, who said, I'm a strong believer in striving to become a stronger version of yourself, so naturally weightlifting plays a part into that. Writing helps with self-reflection and being critical of my actions and behavior. Cleanliness and cooking are both activities that require mindfulness, so it's easy to stay in the present with these two hobbies. I'm a foodie, so while I enjoy going out and trying new things to eat, I think it's also important to have minimalistic and simple foods to eat. For me, it is kind of akin to the Stoic practice of wearing simple and plain clothes. And Liana, thank you so much for your response. This is a perfect example of how so many activities can play into your Stoic practice. Weightlifting makes you stronger. It's something that's difficult to do, so you're really testing your body and your mind. And then there's cooking and eating minimalistic foods, which can teach you to be happy with the simplest of things in your life. So I think this is a really good example of all these different hobbies and activities really playing into the Stoic journey. So thank you, Liana. And the next response came from Karen, who said, there are 3 activities that are definitely impacted by my Stoic thinking. One is my quilting hobby, which has turned into a small business. Another is contra and swing dancing, which I do socially, and the last is going to the gym and doing weightlifting and personal training. What all of these activities have in common is me being fully present and aware, not daydreaming or wishing I was in the past or the future. If I don't stay present with quilting, I make mistakes that can take hours to fix. Sewing is much faster than ripping out stray stitches, so I have to pay close attention. When I'm not fully present while dancing, I don't have as much fun interacting with my partners and listening to the music as I move. Now I make sure to focus on the person I'm with, and it's much more fun. At the gym, it's all about being okay with being uncomfortable and staying present. So being more stoic means being in the present and fully experiencing life at this particular moment. It's much more juicy this way. Alright, so Karen, thank you so much for that response. And, I have so many people in my family who do quilting and stitching and all those kinds of things, and I can attest to the fact that it takes so much time and it takes so much concentration and practice and patience. And so I absolutely admire you that you have that kind of patience to do that, and I love that it's playing into your Stoic journey as well. And also I love how you describe life as juicy at the end of your paragraph here. It's awesome. Thank you so much for that. And so moving on, we had an answer from Reese who said, starting out with sleep meditation, moving into full meditation. Now I try to give myself some time during the week to decompress and refocus on my life and my happiness. I actually started sleep meditation with some children that I care for whilst working abroad, and I realized that I actually enjoyed the feeling of letting go the stresses of the day and following a guided meditation. It wasn't long before I just found myself setting aside some time during the week dedicated to bringing my feelings of anxiety, stress, anger, and other negative feelings back under control before they control me and my decision making. Alright, so Reese, thank you so much for that response. I think that meditation has to be one of the all-time great activities for anybody to do if they're looking to improve their life, and I'm really glad that it's working for you. And so moving on, we had an answer from Andrew, who said, journaling is a helpful activity for me. It definitely helps to meditate and then write down my thoughts for reflection. After I meditate, I'll write down the impressions or thoughts that appear the most for clarity and reflection. I'll often discover what concerns me most, and when I write it down, it enables me to work on whatever bothers me. As we say in Zen Buddhism, I tame the monkey mind. So Andrew, thank you so much for that. And again, another great example of how meditation can be so powerful in your life, and also with Stoicism. And what I find so interesting is that everybody has a different type of practice for their meditation. There are so many ways that it can work, and I kind of feel like it just has to do with being mindful and allowing your mind to quiet itself so that you can kind of get to the front and see exactly what's happening within your own mind. And that's exactly what Andrew's doing here. He's finding what it is that's bothering him most, and he's being mindful of that so that he can actually fix the issues that he has in his life. So I think that's awesome. Thank you so much, Andrew. And our next answer came from Joanne, who said, I love my garden, and this year I'm more conscious than ever about the value of growing my own produce, utilizing my own piece of land for healthier, more simplistic meals, but also to reduce our family's plastic intake whilst shopping. We are also creating areas for enjoyment and reflection during different parts of the day. We are also creating pockets for nature. Frogs, hedgehogs, foxes, bees, and butterflies. So Joanne, thank you so much for that response, and I just want to say that sounds absolutely amazing. I really want to see some photos of these frogs and hedgehogs and foxes and bees and butterflies that you have in your garden. I think that would be awesome. So if you can get those photos to us on our Facebook group, that would be wonderful. And our next answer came from Justin, who said, I'm able to apply Stoicism through my work as a clinical mental health counselor intern with elementary school students. I integrate Stoic ideas which inform cognitive behavioral therapy, talking about the dichotomy of control, judgments, acceptance, gratitude, and overcoming adversity amongst other pillars of Stoic thought. I help the students to talk through their concerns, offering many ways to look at their concerns, and I allow them to have additional insight in an encouraging environment. I see progress with the students and even myself. So Justin, thank you so much for that response. It sounds like your career is absolutely aligned with Stoicism, and I'm really excited that it's improving the lives of others and also yourself. So thank you so much. And moving on, we had a response from Talk, who said, I got into RC quad flying, something I've never done before, and I've been making many mistakes, and I'm dealing with slow shipping and faulty equipment. It has had my Stoicism put to the test on a near daily basis, and sometimes I fall in a glorious manner, go big or go home. But more times I see the philosophy triumph, sometimes squeezing by, other times by leaps and bounds. And Talk, thank you so much for that response. And look, it's true, sometimes the stoicism within us will win and sometimes it will lose. The point isn't that it lost, but the point is to get back up and try again to really be the best version of ourselves that we can possibly be. So thank you so much for that answer. And next we had a response from Kerry, who said, I love running. It's good for me and it teaches me discipline. Some days I really don't want to go, but I try to remember that I need to, and that I will feel better for it. Running is a form of me time, which I need in order to help me to deal with life's twists and turns more effectively without losing my temper. Sometimes I have to deal with injury, which prevents me running for a while or slows me down. And I have to exercise control and just walk or swim or whatever. Stoicism really helps me to not get frustrated and bored with other forms of exercise, and to remember that if I am sensible about recovery, then I'll be back there soon enough. Alright, so Kerry, thank you so much for that response. You know, this is really hitting home with me at the moment. I'm currently training for a half marathon, possibly a marathon, and I have an injury in my knee, and it's something that is really bugging me. But Stoicism really does help with this. It allows me, like yourself, to pause and reflect on what's really important. If I don't rest, then I'm not going to be able to run, which is something that I love to do. And so there are other forms of exercise, absolutely, or I can slow down, take precautions. So thank you so much for that response. And our second last answer came from John, who said, my principal hobby for the last 20 plus years has been the collectible card game Magic: The Gathering. As might be imagined, I accumulated the vast amount of cards that would most often sit in boxes and binders for months or years at a time, as I could only put so many cards in a deck and then only see a comparative few during the game. The physical weight of so many cards carried an emotional weight. I grew to loathe getting them out because it meant having to eventually put the cards back, and both were a chore. As life went on, time to play dropped significantly, and Stoicism let me accept this and not feel guilty about eventually parting with much of my collection, freeing me of stuff I don't use and making me happier due to lacking that self-inflicted stress. Perhaps the truth is that Stoicism helped me to appreciate that painted cardboard, no matter how prettily painted or useful in a game, is fairly insignificant in the grand scheme of things. The upshot to fewer cards is time available to pursue other neglected hobbies, such as reading. Purging the collection was a prime example of the idea of doing something rather than just thinking about it, or even worse, not considering it at all. So John, thank you so much for that response. I completely agree that sometimes the best thing to do in life is to get rid of the clutter and get rid of those things that we've been meaning to do for a long time, and I know that Stoicism can definitely help with that. So thank you. And our final answer comes from Matthew, who said, I feel like surfing aligns me with my Stoic practice. While I am in the water, I only think about the task at hand. Surfing doesn't give me time to dwell on the past or worry about the future. The mind is in the present, and it's a great place to be. I've always loved this aspect of surfing, and after studying this practical philosophy, I understand why. I need to practice being present in more activities. There's always room to grow. And Matthew, thank you so much for that answer. I think that's a perfect way to end the episode because there is always room to grow. No matter what hobby it is that is impacting your Stoic journey, there's always room to move that into other areas of your life. And I just want to thank everybody who answered this week's question. It's really awesome for me to see just how many people are being impacted by this amazing philosophy, and it's great to see how many different hobbies are aligned with Stoicism when you're mindful and when you're intentional with the way that you're doing them. And I hope that this episode gives some of you some ideas for some hobbies that you might enjoy doing that would impact your Stoic journey and allow you to become more mindful or patient or grateful or any of these virtues that we all want to cultivate in our own life. So anyway, I hope that you've enjoyed this episode. I'm really grateful to all of you who answered, and I'll talk to you next time. But until then, I hope that this episode has helped you on your rise to the good life. Ciao. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Practical Stoic Podcast. I hope it's been valuable for you. And if you'd like to support the show, then you can go to patreon.com/Simon Drew. If you'd like to try mindset coaching with me, then you can book your first free consultation by going to risetothegoodlife.com/coaching. To join the community, just go to Facebook and search for the Practical Stoic Mastermind. The links to all of these places are included in the show notes, but for now, this is Simon Drew signing out.